Okay, Ms. Latham, we're ready.
This is the meeting for the Mobile City Planning Commission for Thursday, March 4th, 2021. General procedures for this remote meeting are as follows. I will announce an application. For items where no one from the public is attending via Zoom, staff will give an overview, including any comments received from the public. If a member of the public will attend the meeting, staff will announce their attendance and admit them at this time. Once the parties have joined the meeting, if needed, I will state the commission's rules regarding the number of speakers as well as speaking time. Each application is limited to a maximum of 4 speakers in support and 4 people in opposition, limited to 5 minutes each. I will then announce the beginning of the public hearing. The applicant will present their case and up to 3 additional speakers if applicable. For each speaker, at the end of their presentation, I will ask if there are any questions from the commission members. Once the commission concludes their questions of the speakers in support of an application, I will then call for interested parties to speak. At the end of each speaker's presentation, I will again ask if there are any questions. Applicant will be given an opportunity to rebut in accordance with commission rules for 2 minutes. After the rebuttal, I will declare the public hearing closed and the commission will go into the deliberation session. After the commission has rendered a decision, the applicant and concerned parties will leave the meeting or will be sent back to the waiting room by staff where they can disconnect. I will then call the next agenda item. Commission members and staff, please remember to keep your microphones on mute unless you are speaking to the meeting attendees. I'm going to call roll. I'm Libba Latham, Mr. Cart Brightwell, Shirley Sessions, Alan Cameron,
Here.
Taylor Atchison,
Here.
Matt Anderson,
Here.
Nick Amberger,
Here.
Don Hembry,
Here.
Jay Stubbs.
Here.
Ms. Pappas, has Mr. Blackwell fallen off for some reason?
I'm back, Libba. Sorry about that.
Great, no problem. We have a quorum. Would someone like to make a motion to adopt our agenda?
Excuse me,
Yes.
I'm in attendance. This is
Yes,
Bess
I'm
Rich.
so sorry I skipped you.
That's okay.
Bess Rich.
Thank you.
Well, we definitely have a quorum now. We'll have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We're going to move on with application number 1, which is a new subdivision application for 210 Houston Street and 1802 Old Government Street. It has been recommended for tentative approval.
Ms. Latham, no one has signed up to speak in opposition, and we have not received any correspondence that there are concerns about the staff recommendation. The application is simply shifting this interior lot line between these 2 existing lots.
Okay. Well, if there's no one here to speak either for or against, let's move into the deliberation on number 1. Does anybody have any questions or any discussion on it?
Staff recommends it for approval. There's no opposition, so I move to approve based on staff recommendations.
Second.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes. Move on to number 2, which is Persons Development and Construction Services. To amend a planned unit development. It has been recommended for approval. It is a, is it just the planning?
It's just the
Just
PUD for
Just
the,
Okay.
correct, for the multiple buildings and the shared access. We did receive confirmation from Roe, the agent for the applicant, that they are agreeable with staff recommendations. and we have not received any correspondence in opposition.
Thank you, Ms. Pappas. Is there anyone here to speak in additionally to speak? Okay. We'll move to the deliberation part on that. Is there a motion?
I move to approve subject to staff recommendations with finding of facts A, B, and C.
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Let's move to number 3. Mr. Atchison is recused on number 3. This is Rada Investments LLC, 755 Monroe Street. It has been held over. The staff recommends that it be held over till April 1st with revisions due by March 18th.
That's correct. I have admitted into the meeting to speak in support of the application, Stony Boatman and David Schumer. I have also admitted into the meeting Belinda Bonner in opposition. I will check their sound in a moment, but I do need to draw to the attention of the commission. You have received some forwarded correspondence from staff in support. West and Alicia Sellers in opposition, Paulette Walsh, Belinda Bonner, and Patricia Petway. So if I could, let me check real quick and make sure those that have been admitted into the meeting can hear us and we can hear them. Stony Boatman, can you hear us? He does not appear to have any audio. David Schumer?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Belinda Bonner? Ms. Bonner, you're on mute. Ms. Bonner?
I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Margaret,
Okay.
before we start,
Yes.
first, we did receive 2 other letters of support regarding number 3 that were just submitted recently. Daphne Walters and Brian Booker had also submitted letters of support.
Okay. All right. Mr. Boatman, are you able to speak now? All right. Ms. Bonner, we will hear support first and then opposition. Once it's your turn to speak, then come off mute, but we'll guide you.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Latham, the first person we have sign up to speak in support is Stony Boatman, but he does not have audio. He has no microphone beside his name. So I think we need to go with Mr. Schumer.
Okay. Mr. Schumer,
Yes,
will you state your name and address, please?
I'm David Schumer. I'm with Barton and Schumer Engineering. I'm at 3213 Midtown Park South in
Thank you.
Mobile. Yeah, I was requested to talk about the parking on the site. I believe that was the major concern from traffic. And I was able to take this site from a survey that was performed a couple years ago, and including the little triangle, the drive-through, and the on-site, I was able to get 28 parking spots within this property for the parking. And I understand, this is downtown where it doesn't have the parking requirements, but if this were anywhere else in the city, that would meet there's 2,800 square feet of usable space or net space in the building. And so that would meet all of the city's parking requirements anywhere else on the site. They I'm sure will utilize some of the on-street parking, but they have an ample amount of available space for off-street parking as well. I don't think we had time to get the sketch to the city for review. But if anybody has any questions.
All right. Commissioners, any questions from any commissioners? All right, thank you, Mr. Schumer. Ms. Pappas?
It's no longer seeing Mr. Boatman. Let me look at. Okay. If he
He's
can't.
on the screen. He still doesn't have a microphone.
Yeah, he doesn't have the ability to speak.
So Taylor said in the chat that Stoney is in the waiting room on the phone.
Is his last 4 digits 7517? Thank you. Okay. I'm admitting Mr. Boatman.
Thank you. Mr. Boatman?
Yes.
Welcome to our meeting. Would you please state your name and address for our record?
Yes, my name's Stoney Boatman. I live at 1254 Texas Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36604.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
All right. First, I wanted to thank y'all for letting me speak today. I just want to say that, we have done our best to be very good neighbors that we now have moved into. The Icebox was started, in the beginning of 2020 of last year, and obviously in the old Crystal Ice Factory. And our original idea was to creatively try to repurpose the building into a neighborhood bar to service locals and also visitors of all legal ages. And one of our main goals is to support local artists and entrepreneurs in a creative and lively environment. We have strived to be very good neighbors and have always responded quickly to any issues or complaints that our neighbors have had. For instance, I walk the perimeter every morning that I get to work from the block of behind us all the way out to the very corner of our lot and back down and pick up all the litter that, whether it be our customers or just the litter that people driving by, putting it on the ground. Also another thing is that we had an issue with somebody taking their dog poop and putting it over the fence. And I handled that really quickly. I found out who the patron was that did it, made sure that he went over and gave a formal apology. He actually even went back and actually gave a gift and was very prompt on doing so. And we also made it very quickly at that point. I made it that no dogs were allowed to be on the premises until we figure out a better situation at hand. Also other things that we've dealt with, is with the litter, we decided to cut our neighbors' yards behind us, Miss Bonners and the neighbor next to them. And that way it ensures that every 2 weeks that our crew, when they are cutting the grass, that they also check for any kind of litter that might be dropped in their yards or anything. I've heard some issues about the parking. I personally have not really seen anything. I know that we are going to work with them as best as we can. During the last couple of hurricanes, we had some fence damaging that had come down. We actually worked with Miss Paulette Walsh on Monroe Street, and we actually moved our fence back a foot towards our property to give her a little bit more access to ensure that, that it's not going to be any kind of reliability on her of any kind of to maintain or anything that would even encroach on her property line. In the early part of the neighborhood meeting, we have discussed eventually to try and offer food. We do offer food trucks that are, legally licensed, and try to do some art space and stuff. But it's trying to find a way to actually benefit for everybody in a cost-effective way has been a challenge for us. The food and coffee idea that we had initially talked about is still in the works. It's still something that we really want to do. We want to make this a community spot for the neighborhood and for everybody in the area in general to feel like they, have a place to come and meet new people. And it's not just a place just to come and hang out and drink or whatnot. It's a place for everybody to get together and meet and, learn about who they live around. We have not found, easy ways to get around some of these ideas, but we're still working very hard on doing those. However, we have created a monthly outdoor market for local vendors and support local and legal food trucks very well since we've been doing this. It has been a tough year on us. We opened up, our grand opening was February 2nd of 2020, and it was mid-March that quarantine hit. So we made a gutsy decision and very quick decision to open up the yard that we already have going to make a safe spot for when we were able to open back up for our customers to have an open air area and feel comfortable and still be able to come out and enjoy the community and the camaraderie of other people at that time. We are striving to try and find new ways to buffer the sound, and we're going to do our best and keep working on that. There's other things that I'm looking at taking the one outdoor speaker that we have and moving it down kind of ground level. So that way it's not going to be over the fence and that sound will be at a ground level and actually hit the fence line. That will really help buffer the sound going further than it should go. So we're really excited about the new year coming, and we're very, very much want to be very compliant and work with our neighbors as best as we can. So if there's anything that you need from me at any time, you're more than welcome to contact me, and I'll be more than happy to work with you any way we possibly can. So thank you for your time and your consideration.
Are there any questions from the commission? Well, thank you, Mr. Boatman. We appreciate you joining us today. Is there anyone?
All right, thank you very much. Hold on one second. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll still be on the line, but thank you.
All right, Ms. Pappas, is there anyone else in favor of it?
Not attending the meeting. We have Ms. Belinda Bonner in the meeting, and she is in opposition. Ms. Bonner, please unmute and you're ready to address the commission.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I have a lot of problems with noise, and after a certain hour, the last time I reached out to Mr. Boatman about the sound, it was 10:30 at night, and he informed me of what time it was. I'm sorry, it's my home. It's not like I can uproot my home or move my bedroom when there's too much noise coming from over there. He's informed me on other times that he was at home in the bed. I'm at home in the bed also, and I'm not able to sleep because of all the drunken people that are over there, all the noises coming over the fence. And I can't even imagine the elderly people who live across Canal Street, what they're dealing with over there. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Ms. Bonner. If you don't mind, could I get you to give us your address just for our record so that we make sure we have this?
210 South Scott Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36602.
Thank you so much for that. Commissioners, are there any questions for Ms. Bonner?
Yeah, so Ms. Bonner, your property is the one that's kind of that triangle there. You're kind of the southeast corner. Yeah. Okay, they're putting the cursor over it. I see it now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The fence is between your property and the Icebox property.
What do you mean, which fence?
Is there a fence between your property and the Icebox?
Yes. Yes. I don't know what these spirals are down at the bottom of it. Those right there, that's the back of my property right there.
Is there a fence there?
Yes, it is.
What type of fence is it?
A wood picket fence.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Bonner? All right, Ms. Bonner, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
May I rebut on this one, please?
We're going to have all of the opposition. Ms. Pappas, is there somebody else to speak against it?
No, ma'am, there's no one else in the meeting. You do have correspondence and opposition in compliance with the commission's operating rules. Mr. Boatman or Mr. Schumer would have 2 minutes to rebut.
Mr. Boatman?
Yes, just to clarify that the fence is actually a 6-foot privacy fence. The green circles in the diagram that you see are new, very large crepe myrtles that we have planted. And that is one of the ways that we're trying to offer and help with the sound rebuttal. Also, as far as over at Canal Street, we have not heard anything or any complaints, and I really don't think that our noise would carry all the way across a 4-lane highway and over a brick wall at all. So it is, yeah, like I said, it is a 6-foot privacy fence. It's not a picket fence. I just want to make that clear.
What are your hours of operation?
Tuesday through Friday, we open up at 2 in the afternoon, and we normally, we're able to stay up until 2 a.m. It's very rare that we do. And then on Saturday and Sundays, we open up at noon, and it's still the same operation, but our average close time is usually about 1:15 to 1:30 on a Friday or Saturday, but on a Thursday during the week, it's usually around 11:45, 12 o'clock at the latest. Yeah, and when we do have live music outside, it's usually just a solo, but we normally have it on the inside, and it's only from 7 to 10.
All right, are there any further questions from any commissioners?
Yeah, so to the staff, to my recollection, the noise ordinance refers to noise that crosses an adjacent property line. Is that correct?
I'm not fully up to speed on the noise ordinance. However, in general, noise is a concern.
Yeah, and then so the parking that we have on site, liberally, if you included the vacated portion of Bayou Street there, what kind of increase in parking? Not that you need an increase of parking, but the neighbors are concerned about the parking situation more than anything else. I mean, what's the mitigating factor here? I mean, you can't have everybody parking on Canal Street Service Road. I mean, I've been there. I've been to the Icebox when it was very busy, and the parking was pretty difficult then. So adding this kind of expansion, I just don't know I just don't know how you mitigate it. I mean, I see the staff is asking for a holdover, but I mean, what is I just don't know what there is to be done about it. And the noise situation, I mean, when you're in cramped quarters like this, like Miss Bonner, there's going to be a play area right out her back door. The noise situation is that could be a concern.
Well, and I mean, that's the reason why we are requesting the holdover. While parking does not have to be required, is not required within the downtown area, due to the occupancy, planning approval is required. Parking and harmony with the development of the surrounding areas are two of the criteria when analyzing an application for planning approval. Staff is concerned because even prior to the submission of this application, the city had been receiving complaints regarding the parking problem. And of course, I think, you know, you've seen in the correspondence that's been forwarded, as well as presented by the neighbor today, the issue of the noise. You know, this particular site, the outdoor play areas are right on the other side of a privacy fence from occupied residential, single-family residences. So we are looking to the applicant to provide their plan for mitigating the noise and the parking situation, because this is not, unlike some other applications the commission has had before them where there would thought to possibly be a parking problem. This is a known parking problem.
You know, I'm aware of a couple, at least a couple of groups, you know, either in Oakley or just in Line Coffee, even folks around that will cycle here. You know, maybe I could see like maybe adding some bicycle racks or something to make it so that it's more, you know, to encourage more of that instead of vehicular traffic that would, you know, create that that parking situation that occurs occasionally. You know, but yeah, no, I'm with you. I see why you would want it to be held over. I'm just, you know, at some point you also have to, you know, if it's not required and there's not a way to do it, what do you do? You know, I mean, there's kind of if there's a lack of a mitigating factor, we kind of just have to proceed with what is before us. And I mean, I think it's wise to hold it over to talk about it, to try and talk it out with the applicant. But we also probably need to be cognizant of the fact that it might just not be possible to add much more parking without losing something else. I'm a little bit more concerned about the noise than I am about parking, frankly.
I agree.
Can
Noise
Yeah,
is-
I've got some questions too, if I may, and comments. Spess. Is it okay if I speak?
Yes.
I don't- Oh, thank you, appreciate it. The outdoor play area, it's already, they want to put in some additional amenities in that area. Are people already spilling on the outside today? Is the applicant still listen? I'm thinking as I'm hearing this discussion, because noise is huge when it abuts residential, and you try to make it as mitigated as possible. So what is the staff looking for as far as mitigation? Saying that an outdoor play area would not be advisable and should not be part of these plans. The indoor activities, if they have good soundproof and everything, that might work. This is asking for 35 more people, if I've looked at the application correctly, as opposed to the cap of 100 that's allowed in this area. Do I have that correct?
I think that number is a little higher.
What is the cap that they can do without, you know, is it because they're putting these outdoor activities and this new, I guess the putting range or whatever's inside and then they want to increase the number of activities for people to come by and stop?
Okay, this is in the DDD, and
Right.
once you have a 100-person occupant load or higher, planning approval is required. Occupant load is within the building and then this outdoor seating area.
So it doesn't take into account the play area, that how many people?
Since it'll be fenced in, the building code may take that into account. In terms of mitigation, like I said earlier, does staff have a specific plan? No. We are looking for the applicant to provide
Yeah.
us with some alternatives.
Okay. I appreciate that. I just didn't know if there was some thought on how one would mitigate. The idea is that they're there till 2 a.m. or even 12 a.m. But abutting residential is an explosion waiting to happen at all times. So I'm certainly sympathetic. There's a lounge that sits near a residential area in the district that I represent, and it is, the noise is the main issue, the people outside of the building. So this would be encouraging that. And I take it that, who oversees when the 104, 37th person comes in, or 130, are they asked to leave? It's hard when people are coming and going to even know what those numbers are too. Makes it difficult for everybody, I'm sure, the owner and the neighbors. We do have a noise ordinance, like was discussed, about hours from, after 10 p.m. The audible cannot be above 65 decibels from the person's yard that registers the complaint. It's difficult for our policing. They don't always come with decibel readers, but I know they'll walk over, to the lounge or the space and ask them to quiet it down. But it's difficult for everybody involved. So I'll be curious about the next round for information from the applicant. I think the neighbor, is telling us clearly what she's experiencing. I believe it to be real, very much so, those
Well,
hours.
I don't know if, Counselor, if you're talking about the lounge, I'm thinking of the one that's in it's in that shopping center, next to Pinehurst, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that one is less intimately connected than this. I mean, this is right next to
And
them.
it rings
that
everybody's phone
Yeah, and that one is,
problem
I mean, one
because
the
of
biggest
the
problems we
hours
had
of
2 years
operation
ago-
and the noise outside of the building.
Yeah, and the one that one that she's talking about, one of the biggest problems we had, I mean, probably even just 18 months ago, was the foot traffic that kind of disperses from the site at times. And, the noise ordinance is one thing, but when you have a loud drunk guy that shows up in your yard or something,
It's not funny.
that by itself, that by itself is is pretty problematic. So I'm, I think we just need to, give a little bit of space so we can kind of get through this, because exactly what she said, having that noise and foot traffic right up against the residential can be problematic if we don't try and find some kind of way to mitigate.
Mhm.
Right.
And I
Did
agree.
you-
I mean, we've had cases in the past with, remember, right in downtown area where we had, there's certain hours that we put limitations on amplified sound after a certain period of time. But obviously there's something that the developer or the applicant is going to have to do before I think we can support any expansion of this, because it's already sort of pushing the limits of what we want so close to a residential area. So us allowing for it to be expanded, there's going to have to be some definite solutions come up with by the applicant as far as noise control, hours of operation where you have noise outside, the number of people parking, all those things. We don't have the solution. I mean, we want to see these areas develop, but I just can't see allowing for an expansion until some of these issues are developed to allow the business to function, but also to protect the residential neighbors as well.
Right.
If I may bring to the commission's attention, Ms. Bonner, who is the resident that is in the meeting, specifically stated, the quote, "I'm not against the inside, but I am against the play area."
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, I'd like to thank Ms. Bonner and Mr. Boatman and Mr. Schumer all for being here. And we have had our discussion, I think, prior to having our motion, but because it's been recommended to hold over, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? This one will be held over until our meeting on April the 1st. And we look forward to hearing from the parties that are interested at that point in time. Thank you. All right, we're going to call number 4, which is 3968 Wimbledon Park. The staff has recommended tentative approval on the subdivision request. There is also a PUD request, which has been recommended for approval. And I think that's it. No zoning requests. So, Ms. Pappas, do we have, is this the one that we have someone on?
Yes, ma'am. If I may, a couple of things. I have admitted into the meeting Miss Sessions. Miss Sessions, can you hear us? Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Sessions.
I'm so sorry. I do apologize.
It's okay. I saw you and I wanted to bring attention to the fact you're here. And then
I'm
I
back.
have,
I'm back.
We're glad you're here.
I have
Thank you
also,
very much.
I have also admitted into the meeting Philip Russell, who's the applicant. He is currently connecting to audio. I will also bring to the commission's attention, you received from the staff this morning a letter of support from Larry Wedemark with the Architectural Control Committee for Wimbledon Park. It still shows Mr. Russell connecting to audio. Bert, are you aware of him having any concerns with staff recommendations, or was he just attending to be able to address the commission?
He had no concerns. He's just attending to be available.
Okay.
You still having trouble with him?
Yes, ma'am. It still says connecting to audio and he has no microphone beside his name.
So it's the same problem we have with Mr. Boatman. Do you want to, do y'all want to move forward? Want to give him another minute? How do you want to handle this?
Well, I was going to say, Bert, if you have confirmation he had no problems with staff recommendations, I believe we can proceed.
That's what he stated when he called to get the link.
Okay. All right. Well, then we will move into the discussion phase here. And the deliberation phase is, do y'all want to? Let's do them separately. Let's take the subdivision first.
Move to approve based on staff recommendations.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I didn't hear very many ayes on that. Can y'all state again, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. Let's take the planned unit development part now.
Mr. Russell should have sound now.
On the
Okay.
PUD,
You
move to
wanna-
approve based on staff recommendations, findings of facts A, B, C, and F on the PUD.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded, but Ms. Pappas?
Yes,
should we-
ma'am.
Should we ask him if he wants to make a comment before we call our vote? Since we've already voted on the first half, or do we not need to do that?
Sure. He's here. Mr. Russell, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. The commission was moving for approval. Did you have any comments that you needed to make to the commission?
No, not at all. Thank you for letting me join the meeting, but I was here just in case anybody had any questions.
Okay.
All right, thank you. The planned unit development motion has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes, and thank you, Mr. Russell, for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to number 5, which is 3905 Dolphin Street and
Addison.
26 South McGregor Avenue. That has been held over till the April 1st meeting.
That is correct.
We will take that up at that point in time.
We need a motion?
No,
I don't think-
sir.
Okay.
All right, let's move to 6130 and 6138 Farron Woods Court. It's a re-subdivision of lots 2A and 4A and a planned unit development for the same two lots, 2A and 4A. Staff has recommended tentative approval on the subdivision, and they have recommended approval on the planned unit development.
That is correct. And I have admitted into the meeting Brett Orrell. I have also admitted, I believe, Mr. Farnell's the applicant. Brett, can you hear us?
I can, yes.
Okay, Mr. Farnell?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry.
That's all right. I do need to bring to the commission's attention, you do have correspondence from Aldo and Marianne Travato in opposition.
All right. Mr. Orrell, would you like to state your name and address for our record, please?
Sure, sure. Brett Orrell with Poly Surveying, 5588 Jackson Road, Mobile 36619. And so, yes, we did receive yesterday from staff some comments from Ms. Travato in regards to the subdivision. In the comments, it spoke to an amendment of the PUD, reduction of setbacks, and some covenant issues that are what she perceived to be issues. I sent an email back to staff yesterday stating that all of those really, we are just amending a previously approved re-subdivision and PUD. And we are simply moving a lot line that was currently located along an existing fence to the west, and, you know, is not creating any type of encroachments or setback violations. Since then, Mr. Farnell was able to reach out to Ms. Travato and explain what they were doing. They believed at the time that it was actually creating a new lot. And in this case, we are simply moving an internal lot line and amending a previously approved resub and PUD. So our understanding and the conversation Mr. Farnell can speak to is that she was no longer in opposition once she understood that.
And you are in agreement with all the conditions?
We are.
Thank you so much. Mr. Farnell, would you please state your name and address for our record?
It's Hank Farnell, and it's 6130 Farron Woods Court, Mobile, Alabama 36608.
Thank you. Would you like to make some comments?
No, just Brett summed it up. I did speak to the Travatos last night, and they just were confused about the planned re-subdivision of the 3 lots or the 2 lots that are existing there. So it appears that everything has been worked out regarding that.
Thank you so much for that. Ms. Papps, do we have anyone here to speak in opposition to this?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. We will move into the deliberation phase now. Let's take these separately. Let's do the subdivision first.
Move for approval.
Ask a quick question.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Quick question, Margaret. Got a little bit of delay. And this is really no consequence, just for the record, when I read the opposition letter, just so we can get it clear, I mean, we cannot, as a planning commission, take into consideration any kind of covenants or agreements for a particular subdivision or HOA in our deliberations for either approving or denying an application. Correct, Margaret?
I'd love to, that's correct. You would probably love to hear Doug's voice on that more than mine, but that's correct.
Yeah, I mean, we've had that discussion before, but I just wanted to, clarify that for the record while we had it. So
Thank you, Mr.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, if we're still discussing, I'd like to discuss. That's okay. Thank you. I thank Mr. Farnell talking to his neighbor, because getting that letter with the word subdivision and everything is very confusing for people. So I thank him for reaching out and, explaining everything, because I see this as kind of a cosmetic change, so to speak, just shifting of the lot lines. But it is confusing when you get something from the government and you're not sure what that subdivision means or re-subdivision. So thank you very much, Mr. Farnell, for addressing it and answering the neighbors' questions. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Ms. Farnell, and thank you, Mr. Orrell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take the subdivision part first.
So move.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor of the subdivision?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Well, to the planned unit development.
Move to approve based on.
Move to approve, subject.
I'm sorry.
Who wants to
No,
go?
go ahead.
A, B, C, and D.
Second.
Properly moved and
The whole
seconded.
alphabet.
Delay.
Is there any discussion? All right, it's properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes.
Hopefully in a couple of weeks, when we're back in person, we won't have these delay issues.
Well, you know, it works. It actually has been working pretty well, I think, too.
Thanks to Margaret and her amazing staff, it has.
But I am looking forward to getting back in person. Ms. Pappas, do we have any further business?
Not for this meeting, no ma'am.
Thank you.
Margaret, I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Do you know if Joel has scheduled a community information event for the Feeder Springs agenda item that's held over?
I have not had any correspondence with the council representative regarding that application. But I am not aware of any neighborhood meeting.
All right, I'll send him an email asking that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. If there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.